Hey, it's Eric from Mythico Studios here, and I'm going to send you a series of videos that basically are going to explain what you need and just basics of painting. We're not going to get into anything that's really complicated. I'm just going to, in this first little video, explain to you kind of the things you'll need to use and the differences. So I'm going to be painting an Aztec Bound Dead. That's the model. And if you can see right off the bat, so we've primed him. That's with a spray primer. Get them on your base. And you can use all kinds of primers, whatever they have at the hobby shop. So this is Army Painter, which is a straight plain white. And this is Citadel, which is made by Games Workshop. And this is in a little bit more of a grayer shade. Uh, if you want a brighter color, use the white. If you want something somewhat muted, but it's still going to be bright with the contrast paints that we're going to use, then go with something that has a little bit of that gray tone to it. So uh, the paints that I'm recommending for you are known as contrast paints. So generally, what people do, and the only thing you were really able to do before contrast paints came around, is take regular paints, and they're called either layers, that's a regular little pot of paint, or base paints, like that's a base black. And these are traditional paints where you put your brush in, you know how it's going to come out. And once you have that base color on for whatever it is, piece of the mini that you're going to paint, you then have to go through shading, wash, dry brush, and highlighting. It can be up to 4 or 5 steps for some things. Most people can get away with 3, but it's the only way you're going to be able to bring out and show all the highlights and give depth to the model. So with contrast paints, which are things like this, just contrast there, and there's several different brands. I like Citadel from GW, and we sell them on in the shop. You can order them or go locally, however you like. But um, GW Citadel contrasts are my favorite. They eliminate all those steps. So basically, after priming your model, you're simply going to have to apply a coat of the contrast paint to whatever part of the model you're painting. And we'll go through that as well in the subsequent videos. So what happens is normally when you use a regular type of paint, you're painting the model and it comes out somewhat flat because the paint's a little thick. Um, so it doesn't really bring much depth to the model. So then you use what's called a wash. And that wash will get into the recesses of the model. So you'll see like all those little nooks and crannies there on him. And that will allow for shading and depth to be added to the model. And so you eliminate all of those steps, and your model comes out looking like that. This is literally primer and contrast paints, except for maybe the club, which I use a base paint and then a contrast over that. But it eliminates most of the steps. It's going to make your life a lot easier. What you need for painting is the paints, of course, which I just showed you. And then you want at least these 3 brushes. So this is a detail brush. That's to get little bitty details, little areas. This is a highlight brush or a medium-sized brush. And that brush is going to allow you to fill in some of the larger pieces that you're painting on the model. And then this is different companies. It's a big brush. This company, Army Painter, calls it a monster brush. Um, on the thing there. So this is for really broad areas where you need to kind of apply a decent amount of paint. And also for the bases, because you're going to have to paint the bases because the bases, once you prime them, are white. And most of the bases are prime. You paint them black, and then do your basing, which is a whole nother thing we'll talk about later on down the road. So again, those 3 brushes, a small detail brush, a medium brush, or highlight brush, whatever they want to call it, but you can see the differences there. And then this is the bigger one. And that brush is really for broader spaces. Um, there are other types of brushes like dry brushes, which can end up looking pretty raggy like that. They're much stiffer. Again, because of contrast painting, you don't have to use things like this unless you want to, but we're going to make this simple for you so you can get your armies painted, get your kids painting those armies also, and hopefully that'll help. Always have a cup of water because you do need to dip your brush in there every so often to get excess paint off, to clean when you're going to another color, and also paper towel. So you can see this paper towel has been used excessively. Paper towel is good because you can wipe off excess paint. If you make a mistake, you can use it to wipe the mistake away, um, or even just rest the brush down. I also generally keep like a paper plate in case I need to do something with paint in there. You probably won't have to. Um, the thing with contrast paints, if you make a mistake, and you will, I make them constantly, you can always take a little white paint, like I just use this white primer paint, and go over the mistake you made um, with the white, and then you'll be able to put contrast paint back over it. So that's this first video. Contrast paints over your primed white or semi-off-white spray prime. Don't ever prime when it's too hot or too humid because you will ruin the prime. You'll have a gritty model. We spoke about the contrast paints, the brushes that you need, a small, medium, large, in effect, cup of water for what you need to do with that. So I'll end this segment and then I'm going to paint a little bit of the model so you can see that and then finish it up and go to the next step of painting the body, whatever, and we'll show you that as well. Okay? And of course, any questions, Eric at mythicostudios.com.